Our film is called Recreational. We're a bit skeptical on the name of the film, so yeah, we'll clarify that.
We're
at a
open to
later
suggestions.
point. Yeah, we're open to suggestions. So, yeah, Recreational is a crime-based thriller surrounding a young, off-rails type of lad, no ambition, not many friends, and doesn't go to school. No real general idea of what he wants to do later in life. The film follows a portrayal of this chatty, low-life degenerate who lives at home with his dad. It conveys a roller coaster ride of a transition from rags to riches, as he is so fortunate to find a large bag of white powder, cocaine, and begins to start selling it. Yet he is unaware of the inevitable repercussions. Aspects of our opening title sequence will introduce the main character by using a combination of conceptual images and character representation to construct a vague yet interesting portrayal of storyline.
So the main character is called Eli. He's the protagonist / antagonist. Eli develops throughout the story from a docile young adult to a twisted drug-abusing monster. Like in Leonardo DiCaprio's film Wolf of Wall Street, the kind of drug abuse that you see him kind of doing. You follow his story as he progresses from a grey and depressed 19-year-old jobless, broke and trying to look after his ill dad who has dementia, to a later deep and darker version of himself. Twisted by the drugs and money, you watch his morals dissipate, the character you feel sorry for and connected to at the start, he becomes a heartless and corrupt person who you kind of like, you have opposite feelings to him towards the end of the film. Consequently, he develops a split personality, so like he'll have his personality as he's at his home life, and then when he goes out and is a drug-abusing monster. He's young, he's 19, he's 5'7", he's short and has short and brown hair with stubble. He starts off wearing casual hoodie and trackies or jeans. Later he's seen wearing an expensive suit to show his progression of his small drug empire.
So our secondary character is David, who is Eli's dad. He doesn't have an appearance until later in the story, when he has a brief moment of sanity where he makes Eli question himself. He is confined to his living room. Once a role model father, he became ill after his wife, Eli's mother, died. He sits in his chair staring at his TV all day, relying on Eli for everything. His appearance is, David is a late 50s man. He's old with gray hair, shabby clothing, and always has a blank withdraw expression. Our secondary character is named Drug Mule. He's a mysterious man who drops a packet of cocaine before Eli as he tries to escape the police. This man is the antagonist in the film, and his purpose is to take revenge on Eli after his drugs are stolen from him. Eli's appearance is early 20s, shaved head with a fearsome look on his face, hooded jacket, and jeans.
So for our synopsis for the opening title sequence, we are introduced to Eli, who is portrayed as a lonely teenager, and he's filmed in dark and dangerous places to reflect his solidarity. We'll be setting it in Brighton town, where Eli will spend most of his time walking around the streets, watching drug deals happening, which gives him the idea of selling drugs. Wide shots will compose his loneliness, sitting on the beach and walking on his own. We'll also try and do a time lapse of him on the beach to show his loneliness, him just sitting there and watching all these people going around to make it quite effective. Also, as the opening title sequence is going on, we will show conceptual images of money falling in slow motion in close-up shots to create a better understanding of what the film is about. And we will also show small short cuts of small stacks of money being built up more and more as the opening title sequence progresses. Towards the end of the opening title sequence, Eli will go to a small alleyway to sit down and roll a cigarette. We'll do close-ups of the cigarette and show the embers burning to give it quite an interesting look. The antagonist, well, we will later find out who he is, the antagonist, will run past him and bump into him and drop a large envelope on the floor. Eli will get up and pick up the package to find that it's full of cocaine. And as he's looking in, we will flash back to all the drug deals that he saw, close-ups of the hands exchanging, and flashes of the money being stacked as well to open into his thoughts of him selling the drugs. And as this is all happening, police sirens will sound, and then Eli will pocket the drugs and run away. And the last shot will be Eli's foot as a close-up running away off in the distance.
So for the mise en scène, in the opening title sequence, the lighting will be fairly dark and the settings will be confined places in the streets of Brighton. This reflects Eli's loneliness and personality and will create a shadowy atmosphere for the audience, increasing their anticipation. So the settings will be around the lane. It's probably quite late at night, so we're going to have filmed quite dark times, probably about 5 now. Then we're going to have on like the Brighton seafront, like around the entrance to the pier, near Kemptown and St James's Street, and then Brighton itself to show all of like the people like having a life whilst he's lonely. We'll film Eli in wide shots to portray his isolation and close-ups of the drug deals occurring to show Eli's interest in selling drugs.
Oh yeah, so our main character is obsessed with money, and to show his greed, we'll film £10 and £20 notes in close-up shots in slow motion. This will be quite effective because it will show more variation in camera shots and it will create a better understanding of the narrative. We'll use money and also small packets of fake cocaine to show the drug deals happening in close-ups and produce a better understanding of the whole film.
As Eli is a smoker, we will be filming him with close-up shots of him smoking to portray his companionless life. This gives a greater detail into how he is letting his life escape him and that he has nothing better to do than smoke his life away. Smoking is a negative image, and that's exactly what we want in our opening title sequence.
The bag that Eli finds is an opening title sequence is a brown envelope filled with cocaine, which we'll have as flour or baking soda or something similar to white powder. Cocaine, and it's used to start off the narrative. One of our final shots will be of Eli opening the bag, which leaves the sequence on a cliffhanger. This builds great anticipation and encourages the audience to find out more about where the bag came from and what Eli is going to do with it.
And that is all.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys. So, what do we think of their title, Recreational? Is it appropriate for what they're doing, or do you have any other suggestions for a title for this film?
No?
Or recreation?
Well, we did recreational as in like recreational drugs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But also it's about what he does for recreation.
Yeah.
Exactly,
So,
yeah, so
maybe recreation could be, I don't know. Any other suggestions?
Something to do with like money and greed and stuff
we
like
really-
that.
we looked through a load of words on the internet and tried to find something. And
Any?
Huh?
I think it works.
You think it works?
Yeah, I think it could work. Maybe even thinking of shortening it to recreation. I think you've come up with quite a good concept, and you've chosen sort of that conceptual character-based style, which I think is quite appropriate. I think you've linked to influences of films, although you could do that a little bit more, or opening title sequences in places you could do that a little bit more, and you've got some really thoughtful characters that you've developed. Anything else that we like? So you can quite visualise it?
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's quite ambitious. You've
That's
given,
what Kirsty said as well.
you've
Yeah,
got
she
a
said
lot
we, like,
to
simplified it
shoot.
quite a lot. So that's where we got like the image of like the money falling and stuff.
So you
we
can
should do
film that once and maybe repeat the
Yeah.
imagery.
It's mainly going to be people meeting to show drug deals, and
Yeah.
so we're just going to repeat a few shots.
Yeah. With time lapse, it's quite time consuming. So
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be like maybe like a 20-minute one.
yeah.
Not like
Not a very long one.
I know, but you can take it from different angles and shots as well to make it look a lot busy as well. So that's quite a good idea. So yes, with shooting in dark places, you're maybe going to need to do some screenshots or testing, maybe in your recce this weekend, going to the locations that you're thinking of shooting at in dark light, and maybe even doing a workshop on Monday. If it's an indoor room that you want to light quite darkly, then you might need a workshop to help you out with that. Any other suggestions for?
When you don't use flour for cocaine, use sugar because it's more crystallized.
Okay, sorry.
The expert. Well, experiment with what looks good on camera in terms
So
of
it's not
that
professional.
crop.
It's
Okay.
going to stay in the back, so
It's got experience.
The cigarette burning down, I think one thing you haven't thought about that, it also symbolises time running out for him towards the end of the film, so you might want to think about how that's symbolic as well. It's smouldering down, or his life's burning away with his current, but also at the end, time's going to be running out for him. Maybe, potentially. So there's some more. You have thought of it, but maybe you could add that in terms of feedback as what the imagery implies. Any other suggestions? I'm quite interested to see what graphics and fonts you're going to be adding to it as well.
Yeah.
So it's something to be planning on. Okay, any other comments?